Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of the 2024 season for the Mean Green Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Billy Sierra, and I'm back once again by Mr. 2-0, Carter Lacey. Carter, how you doing, man?
Silly B, we're 2-0. That feels awesome. We talked about it last week. First time to go 2-0 since 2018, which is a little sad, but still just a nice note. With UNT, you take what you can get. That's a good thing. Um, Bit of a weird game this week against Stephen F. Austin, but uh, overall a good win. We can talk about that a little bit, but I think it's arguable this is the most exciting game on our schedule coming up on Saturday. Maybe not the best team we're playing. I'll talk about that later, but in terms of excitement and you want to talk about like the circling your calendar, this feels like
Yeah, for
the
sure.
calendar circling game. So I'm pumped up. You were just saying pre-show that now we're getting to like midweek. You're very excited, like more and more about this game. I'm kind of feeling that vibe from a lot of people. Like it kind of feels like there's like a buzzing, like a scent in the air almost of like we might be able to 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 win this game
Yeah.
and go into Lubbock and get a nice little upset win. You want to talk about Stephen F. Austin? Sorry, Stephen F. Austin. I keep wanting to say Abilene Christian. They're both purple
Yeah.
schools.
I've seen people call them Abilene Christian even on like the Go
Uh,
Green board.
I keep having like little like spasms over that. No, do you want to talk about SFA first?
Yeah. We'll let's get the bad part out of the way first. So, yeah, 35-20 win. Started taking the knee on the 1 yard line with 2 minutes left. So, had a chance to make the score look a little prettier, a little less ugly than it really was. But yeah, I mean the theme of the game was just sloppiness offensively. You talked about South Alabama game, saying, hey, if that's the worst we played defensively all year, we can live with that. I thought offensively similarly, like this hopefully will be the worst game. Hopefully it'll be the worst game for Chandler Morris. I would really prefer that we don't have any more 3 interception games from our quarterback. Penalty wise, that was where this game kind of really got out of hand. We had what was it, 15, or I think we had, I don't know, like 150 penalty yards. Just really set the offense back. There was, I think both Chandler Morris and Eric Morris have mentioned in press conferences since the game that SFA came out in a lot different defensive look than they were expecting, and I get that's that can cause for some confusion, and you have a game plan going in, and then you get you've been seeing looks from scout team all week, and then you get something completely different. That makes sense, but 15 penalties for 122 yards, that can't happen either way. So yeah, I think a lot of it was caused by you're going down to your third string center. We had, I think, 3 false start everyone but the center penalties where Johnny Dixon just didn't snap the ball and everyone else moved. So that obviously has to get cleaned up. We'll see if he's our center Saturday. We're looking at maybe getting Jet Duncan back. That would be huge. But regardless of who your center is, yeah, you have to play a cleaner game than that. Mekhi Lee had some holdings and false starts. I think that the offense, it feels like the offense is trying to jump its own snap count sometimes, where you've got guys that are so ready to go that sometimes I see Chandler Morris claps to let the center know, hey, it's time to snap it. And whenever he claps, the fullback or the up back will move, or someone will move. I think stuff like that. You really want to have cleaned up going into week 3 now. First 2 weeks you kind of give them a little bit of a pass that it's early in the season, but now that you're 2-0, your trajectory for this season has changed a little bit. Going into the season, you're kind of hoping to just get to a bowl game. I think now you're looking at these games on the schedule, and the opportunities are there. I won't jump ahead, but we saw some performances this week that some teams look pretty vulnerable, including Texas Tech. But yeah, SFA. I thought in the first half defensively that second quarter, I thought that they whipped our offensive line's butt.
Yeah.
Aaron Austin, defensive end number 2, he was giving McKiley some fits.
Yeah, there was that one McKiley play where he just got pancaked.
Yep.
I don't remember when in the game it was, but he got shoved down like with ease.
Yeah.
It was a little embarrassing. I don't want to call him out, I feel bad before anything good comes out of my mouth, but
yeah,
that was not fun.
I know. And the guy who did it, Aaron Austin, he was he was number 2 on their team. He's redshirt sophomore from North Crowley. Actually played against his brother in high school for the same high school, and he was one of the Coach Prime casualties whenever he got to Colorado. Aaron Austin ended up at SFA, and he's only listed at 6'2", 210, but I mean he brought it, and I think maybe McKiley wasn't expecting that. I thought the offensive line looked really shaky in the second quarter. To their credit, Cutter Leftwich, I think they got together at halftime, and they were able to turn it around, at least, pass blocking and run blocking. The penalties still happened, but I thought the offensive line looked a lot better in the second half. Defensively, this was bar none the best defensive performance of the entire Eric Morris era. They held him to 67 yards. You're the first person to point this out to me, but these last 2 games have been the lowest rushing yards allowed in the Coach Eric Morris era. Back-to-back games.
217 rush yards in 2 games. I don't know.
We averaged giving up 255 a game last year.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I would be willing to bet that at least in 8 or 9 games last year, we gave up 217 plus in a game. We have given up 217 in 2 games this year.
Yeah.
Real quick, while we're talking about the defense, before we get into like game notes and stuff, can we just talk about the celebration? The Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Listen, like when you're a school our size, going viral, like even if you think it's kind of silly or whatever, it is objectively a good thing.
Yeah.
And just to see, like, I sent that to a bunch of my friends who are like casual sports fans, and everybody was eating it up. Everybody thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Ridge Tejada, you are a badass, and I love watching him play. Even when our defense has been bad the last couple of years, he's always been a bright spot. So even against an opponent like Stephen F. Austin, like I'm like seeing him lock down people and the way he was breaking up passes and reading the QB, just very promising. And I'm also glad that celebration didn't come in a game where we gave up like 42 points and 500 yards. Like he shut them down. He played great. A bunch of people played great on defense. Evan Jackson had a really good game. I thought a bunch of guys on the defensive side were really aware, and like you said, it was an overall just a great game. They like even early on when we gave Chandler gave up that pick on the first drive, they immediately locked in and forced him into a field goal. Like like any UNT game last year, they scored a touchdown on that first drive.
Yeah, for sure.
In the red zone. Every single time they scored a touchdown.
Even FCS opponent.
Absolutely. Even if it's Stephen F. Austin, every single time. They just looked confident and composed. And even though it was a struggle the first half and we were kind of like sweating a little bit, like, are we really in danger of maybe losing this? The defense never, like, again, like this is what we're going to be dealing with all years, this bend but don't break mentality. Like there were a couple bad reads, a couple misplays, but overall just they looked like they had a game plan and stuck to it. And that's all you can ask for this year with coming off of how bad last year's group was. If they can just look competent, that's good enough. If they can look competent and play great and follow through on that game plan, I mean, their reads were awesome. And like I said, there were multiple guys that stood out to me on like how well they tackled, how well guys were wrapping up, how fast some guys were. I mean, we out physicaled them on defense, which is something that you should do against Stephen F. Austin. So yeah, I'm really proud of the defense. Yeah.
Yeah. To put it, statistically, we gave up 248 yards the lowest output yards allowed last year was 347 against Temple. So about 100 yards less than your best game, and that was, a very wounded opponent. They didn't have their quarterback that game, Temple, and they're already not good to begin with. So, to be able to put up that level of performance, I think really showed that the defense is a step ahead of where they were last year. Now,
sure.
You still have that South Alabama game that makes the numbers look ugly, but you look at the completion percentage right now, we're only allowing 52% completion percentage. And that includes South Alabama only completed 53% of their passes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at a defense that is allowing 52% completion percentage and is allowing 3.3 yards per carry. So those are really promising signs. I know that, I think it's going to take fans some time to really come around on the defense. Last week, there was a pick six. You had another interception on their side of the field, and then you had the muff punt by DT Sheffield on our side of the field. So they were put in really bad position 3 times, and one of them they weren't even put in position; it was just a pick six. But like Carter said, they really fought hard, and they were competitive even whenever they were put in bad situations. That's all you can ask for. And then, just the last thing to close out, offensively, again, 4 turnovers, which includes the muff punt, 4 turnovers, 15 penalties, 122 yards. That's about as bad as it gets. And fortunately, we were playing an opponent that we could get away with it against. That definitely can't happen going forward. We outgained SFA 504 to 248. So for what everyone's calling an ugly win, we doubled them up in yards, on yards gained. I think it was the sloppy play. It was the self-inflicted wounds, the unforced errors, so to speak, in tennis terms. So, that's good. You would much rather have stuff like that where you can correct easily as opposed to being, just undermanned or not having the right players.
Well, and one thing I wanted to touch on real quick was that I talked about it last week. Colby Carthel's a head coach where you can't make those kind of mistakes against him, because if you do, they'll capitalize, and they did. He's a really good head coach. He's succeeded at A&M Commerce. He's been relatively successful at SFA. Wherever he ends up next, past SFA, will probably succeed. He's a very good head coach with a proven track record, and it's because of that. That's what makes a good head coach, is if you are able to get the other team to slip themselves up and capitalize on it, then that's half the game plan right there. So it was a little uncharacteristic to see us play so sloppy after what was really a sound, clean game in South Alabama. So I'm not really concerned about it going forward. Obviously it's only week 2. We've only played 2 games. It's hard to really gauge what the mantra of this team's composure is. If they even have one, if it's, if game 1 was just a fluke, maybe. If game 2 was a fluke, maybe. We'll see. But I think there was definitely a lot of maybe just a little bit of overreaction, even from my part, to the instant 35-20 final score. But I have a lot of respect for that program and that head coach. I mean, that's even with FCS, that's a team that you can't get as sloppy as we did. Like you said, 4 turnovers and 16 penalties. It was 15 or 16, whatever.
15, yeah.
15 for 150 yards. I mean, that's a team that will take advantage of it. So, just hats off to them. That they came in and played like they wanted to beat us. So, I just respect to SFA. I'll be rooting for them the rest of the way. That is a team that won 77-0 last week. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Don't look up what they play. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing through 2 games that I think I have come to the conclusion on, and we'll see if this holds true through the rest of the season, but I think that we know now what the strength of our defense is, and I think it's our cornerbacks. Rich Tejada looked really good both of these first 2 weeks, and in coverage for sure. And then Brian Nelson on the other side. I mean, every time they have tested him, I mean, he's 6 feet tall, so he's got really good size for a corner, and he's also got really good makeup speed. Where if a guy might beat him initially, he's got the speed to make up and get back in position to knock down a pass.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the strength of our defense. And hey, cornerback, if you're gonna have a strength of the defense, cornerback or edge rusher, those are probably the two most impactful positions defensively. We've got some good play out of our rush guys so far. Shipley looked good, Dawkins looked good. I'm trying to think of the JUCO guy, Braylon Charles, he looked pretty good. Even Vilea, who's a bigger guy, he made a really good play on like a screen pass where he ran out and made a tackle like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. So I think we've got some players on the defensive line. Linebacker, I'm still waiting to see more from that group, especially Jordan Brown and Weslowski. I think those are guys who should step up this season now that they've got more experience under their belts, and I haven't quite seen it yet. But again, cornerback, I think that to me is the most impressive thing. We've gotten beat a little bit over the middle of the field. There was the one touchdown pass, or the one touchdown that we gave up that SFA's offense actually scored was Javen Anderson kind of got a little bit caught flat-footed, and the guy just kind of ran across his face, caught it, and Anderson wasn't able to catch up. That was a play where Anderson's probably sticking to his zone, but when you see that guy cross your face and the quarterback looking his way, you got to get out there and make a play, even if that is a little bit off script. But yes, I think the safeties, like you said, Evan Jackson played good. I mean, he's a good player. I think Jaden Hill has to me, his worst half of football was the first half of the South Alabama game.
Yeah.
After that, he started playing a lot more aggressively. It felt like he was coming into to help defend the run with a lot more aggression. At first, he looked a little bit timid, maybe trying to figure out if he should go there, where he should be defensively. But I feel like Jaden Hill has taken steps forward, kind of each half, really. And look, he's a transfer. He's a Division II transfer, playing his first snaps of D1 football. So that it's, even for a fifth-year guy, it's still a transition. But again, I think the defense is showing some really promising signs. Even coupling the stats with some of the stuff they did against South Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to talk about Juwan Price?
Yeah.
Get that out of the way.
Yeah. Really, really tough. I mean, I before that kick return, I was saying like, okay, he's our RB1. I mean, he had 7 carries for 45 yards. He was running with some burst, and he had a kickoff return for a touchdown that got called back. He broke off this big one, and just it was just really unfortunate. I could kind of see when it happened. I was like, oh shoot, that guy landed on his leg, and I didn't think it was as bad as it ended up being. Obviously, it ended up being a very gruesome injury, but when it first happened, I thought, oh shoot, like I think he might have like got a high ankle sprain or something that was going to take him out of the game, and obviously ended up being much worse. Really unfortunate. If praying's your thing, prayers are that guy. Really sounds like a really good guy. We're gonna miss him. On a better note, the also Ikaika Ragsdale went down, and so we were down to really Demaje Harris out of our 3-man rotation was all that was left, and he stepped up tremendously. He broke off an 80-yard touchdown run. What was crazy to me is that he had 10 carries, 142 yards. Even if you take out that 80-yard touchdown run, he had 9 carries for 62 yards. Like that is an incredibly efficient game. And Ikaika Ragsdale, he went down. It seems like he's not going to be out for the season or anything. Just maybe day to day, week to week.
He's on the depth chart for Tech.
He is.
If I am looking at it correctly.
Yeah, they're listed as co-starters, Harris and Ragsdale. But Ikaika just he just hasn't shown that burst so far this year. He's got 58 yards on 22 carries. Like I said, Demaje Harris had 80 yards on 1 carry, and then he had 62 on the other 9. So I think this is one of these kind of flying under the radar things right now that I hate to put it that way, where it's like, okay, we're taking a step forward because Ragsdale got hurt. That's not the way it's meant to be. I want it framed. I hope Ragsdale comes back and he's the best version of himself.
Sure.
But through the first 3 halves of football, again, he was averaging 2.6 yards a carry, and that was really putting our offense in binds. It was putting our offense in second and longs, third and longs. Just continually getting these kind of 1-2 yard carries, I think was putting our offense behind. And Chandler Morris had such an amazing game that first week that it didn't matter.
Sure.
But we kind of started to see it where that running game just was really putting our offense in unfavorable down and distances. DeMajay Harris comes in and our offense started rolling. We did have one drive where he was in where we had some penalties and had to punt, even though we were it looked like we were still moving the ball. We were still, running well. And then the last drive of the game, he was able to ice it. We also had a little flip pass to Oscar Hammond, who played really well against SFA. And so, the point is, I think that this is, if you're a Tech fan, they're probably not aware that, hey, this happened with their running back depth chart. But I think as a North Texas fan, this Ragsdale kind of injury or thrusting DeMajay Harris into that starting role or that lead back role, I think that might be kind of one of these just blessing in disguise type things where
absolutely
now we've got a running game. Now we've got a 6'2", 224-pound running back who can break off 80-yard runs. If he gets cooking, you also had, Landon Sides was able to get back in the mix. You had DT Sheffield getting 3 touchdown catches. Damon Ward had an off game, but what he's capable of. So I think, and then Oscar Hammond had a big bounce back game, scored a touchdown, had some other big catches and rumbles down the field.
Yep.
So yeah, I that's another thing why I have a lot of confidence going in this week, because suddenly our offense looks, again, we knew they looked good in the first week, but now I think we've added the run game that we didn't have in that first week. DeMajay Harris really showed that.
And we have Zach Evans coming back this week too, which
and that might be the perfect complement to Harris. A guy, smaller guy, maybe can be a little more of a pass catch threat in this offense.
Dude, Harris's burst was just so fun to like. Every time he touched the ball, he just ran with like such confidence. He's just got that, like, I mean, I don't know his height off the top of my head, but I know he's big. He's a big guy and he runs like it, and that's what you like. You can't have a running back who's like, I think he's 6 something. I don't know his height. 6'2", yeah. You can't have a running back of that size who's timid,
right? For sure.
And to have him just like enter the game in the role he did, I did get emotional seeing everybody go over and tell Juwan their best wishes. That was one of the coolest moments I've seen as a UNT fan. It sucked that it had to come to that, losing such a fun, promising player for the rest of the year. And he's been spoken of so highly by Coach Morris and by his teammates. Yeah. It seems like Juwan Price has really left a good mark on this program early on, especially as such a new face. When you've got 77 new faces and you're able to stand out like that, I think it really says something. So obviously, like, the way he was playing was exciting, but also just to lose a character like that on the team really hurts. And just to see everyone go rally around him, like we've been talking about, just seeing DeMajay step up and that huge touchdown run, the way he was celebrating, the way they were celebrating, it just looked like that was like a
yeah, for sure.
Man, you can knock us, but we're gonna knock you. We're gonna get up and knock you back. And this team just feels fun through 2 weeks. They feel like they've got each other's backs. It feels like we've got a spread out offense where any guy can step up any given week. Again, obviously it's only been 2 weeks, but you look at what Damon Ward did week 1. You look at what DT Sheffield did this week. Even with this fumble, I'll forgive him for the punt because 3 touchdowns is a good way to make me forgive you for a turnover. But yeah, I mean, Oscar Hammond, hasn't done a ton, but the production that he has given us, he's just so physical with his size and able to make some fun catches. Who was it that made that like crazy haul in the red zone? It was like third quarter. I can't remember who it was that made that catch. Remember what I'm talking about?
Was that Conwright?
Was it Blair Conwright? I thought it was Jeremiah Aaron.
Was it Conwright or Aaron? Yeah.
That was his one catch on the night, but he made it count. But I mean, man, you got guys everywhere. Dalton Carnes has
I was about to say him. Yeah, he had a drive there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had that one drive where he had a couple touches and really looked. I think he had like 20, 30 yards, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Landon Sides was back this week and got 43 yards on 3 catches. So, It's really promising when you have a game like this where, like we've said, undisciplined, sloppy. I think it's, again, all due respect. I have a lot of respect for Stephen F. Austin. I think it's fair to say that talent wise, we probably should have won this game by 20 to 25 points at least, just purely based off talent. But to still get a 2-score win over a respectful FCS team, you could take a lot of negatives away from this game. But I mean, to still have DT Sheffield have the game he did, despite Chandler's 3 picks, he still threw for 322 and 4 touchdowns. So, and that was one of the sloppiest games we've seen from him as a quarterback ever. Just to all 3 of his picks coming over the top 2 in the middle of the field was a little concerning. But again,
I think they mentioned that. I think Eric Morris mentioned that there might have been some route mix up there. There might have been some, not running the right route.
Yeah. When all 3 of them come in the exact same location,
right?
They were all like 15, 20-yard dots over the middle, right to a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think when it's a consistent thing like that, it probably indicates that it's you doing something wrong, obviously, but it indicates something that's fixable. So
for sure.
I'm trying to think if I have anything else for notes. We've kind of covered everything. The offensive line, like I was going to note that they played really bad first couple of drives. They were just getting beat and just out physicaled, which is not good against an FCS team, but they did shore up and look a lot better in the second half. I'm just the celebration was the coolest thing, man. That in itself was worth like 2 touchdowns, man.
It's funny too, because at first I and some other people were kind of mad, like if Ridge would have just let that ball drop, we would have had better field position.
He lost us 20 yards.
Exactly. Yeah, he lost us about I think 16 yards by catching that ball, right before it hit the ground. But I will gladly take that 16-yard
trade off.
Yeah, for the social media coverage and exposure.
And we scored on the ensuing drive.
Yeah.
So all's forgiven.
Yeah. All right. So I guess now we can go into Texas Tech.
Woo.
It's again, this is one of those games where I think a lot of North Texas fans have had their eyes on Tech these first 2 weeks. Scoreboard watching or even watching their game. I've probably watched more Texas Tech football than anyone else this year besides UNT. I watched good chunk of that second half against Abilene Christian, and then I watched most of the second half against Washington State. And their fans were having huge freak out meltdown over that game, especially coming off of an overtime win against FCS team. But I got to tell you, I thought that they played better than the score looked. I thought that there were times where Washington State converted a 4th down, or where there was a touchdown pass where the Washington State quarterback Mateer, he underthrew the ball and it hit the Texas Tech cornerback's arm and popped up for just an easy touchdown. That if that ball hits him like an inch lower on his arm, it goes to the side instead of popping up in the air. Yep. Things like that were just. I thought that they looked competitive on the field. Like I said, they gave up some 4th downs, they had some turnovers, but inside the lines when that ball was snapped, I didn't see a terrible team in Texas Tech. I didn't see, the game that a lot of North Texas fans are going to think back to is, the Arkansas 2018 game. Mm-hmm. That Arkansas team went 2-10 that year. Yeah. I don't think Texas Tech is going to be a 2-10 team. I think they're going to be competing for a bowl, 5-7, 6-6, somewhere around there.
Tech's mediocre. That Arkansas team was terrible.
Right, exactly.
We're not beating Tech 44-14 or whatever. That's not it.
Yeah, so again, I think Tech looked better than score showed to me. I thought their defense looked competitive. They've got some playmakers. Their receiver, I forget what his name is. I think it's Kelly. He's leading the nation in receptions. He's got 19. Baron Morton, their quarterback, he's really interesting to me. He is dangerous, but I don't know that he's good. I don't know that he's a good, FBS quarterback. I think he's gonna throw for yards. He has thrown for yards, but
Can I make a topical reference?
Yeah, let's hear it.
The kids like talking about the Costco guys, the Boom or Doom. I think he's a boom or doom quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
His let me pull it up real quick. There was a tweet I sent in our group chat earlier.
Yeah. The downfield passes or the 10 yards in the air.
Terrible at downfield passing. And this is not just from stats. This is from like watching people on Twitter react to it. Tech has produced their game plan around him throwing a lot of screen passes because he does not have success throwing it downfield. Yeah. And what I noted in my my prep for this game is that's where our DBs get beat. Is deep balls, like not turning your heads and giving up stupid penalties, just getting outran. If we can contain him to short passes, that's how you beat him. And yeah, they might throw for 250, 300. That's what he did against Washington State, but he is liable to throw picks. He I think his TD ratio is like it's like 2-1 or something, like
3-1.
Yeah, so he is turnover prone, and we talked about turnovers going into SFA. I think we only had the one pick, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that was it. That's our only turnover this year,
dude. Get 2 this weekend. Get a pick and a fumble. Like this is a big opportunity. I'm not throwing shade at Barron. He's still a talented quarterback and he can sling it, but I think especially if Taj Brooks, their running back, doesn't play this weekend. I know he's questionable. That dude's a beast. He's coming off of a 1,500-yard rushing season last year. If he's out, Barron's the guy you contain, and if you can force him to not don't prove that you can't beat them or that they can't beat you over the top, because if you make them run that screen passing gameplay all day long, that's something that we can adapt to. And like we've been talking about, there are guys on this defense like Jaden Hill and Ridge who have been really Ridge has been doing it forever, but some of the new faces have been stepping up too. I talked about Evan Jackson, who I thought had a great game this week. Those are guys that have been continuously playing better throughout the 8 quarters so far this season. Yeah. If they continue that momentum into this week and we're able to kind of press them a little bit in the passing game, we have a chance, man. I was listening to the space earlier, and so I can't remember who was hosting it. Somebody was hosting a UNT space on Twitter earlier this evening, and they made a note. It's just one of those games where it feels like the last team that's going to have the ball is going to win. I disagree with that. I feel like this is a game where either team can kind of capitalize on the other's mistakes and probably win by 10 to 13 points. And we'll do score predictions here in a minute.
It wasn't Mallory Hartley in that space, was it?
No, I don't think so.
It's funny because I was listening to the Dave Campbell podcast earlier today, or their radio show or whatever, and she said the same thing. She said, she thinks it's going to be whoever. Mallory Hartley's a UNT alum, by the way, who works for Dave Campbell. She's kind of the producer.
Shout out to her and Ashley Pickle. They do work at DCTF.
And they're giving us some good exposure, good publicity. But anyways, she said the same thing, that she thought maybe it could be it would probably be a game of whoever has the ball last. And I kind of felt the same initial reaction. Like I don't know that's what I'm expecting. Because again, I think both of the offenses have had, us and Tech have had some explosive plays, but have had some consistency issues. I think our biggest consistency issues have just been the unforced errors. But again, Tech, like you said, Barron Morton, he's 3-1 touchdown interception ratio this year, but for his career, 28 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So he doesn't even have double the amount of interceptions as he does touchdowns. So again, a guy who can be prone to turnovers, like you said, has really struggled throwing the ball. Did you find the stat? Did you pull up the stat? The air yards, yeah.
Yeah, so he was 4 of 16 with 2 interceptions on passes beyond 10 air yards. Okay. And he was 3 of 11 when he was under pressure. So I don't think we're going to pressure him.
Right.
Tech has a lot of size on that O-line. This isn't going to be one of those games where you sack their quarterback 4 or 5 times. Maybe we play up to our competition. Who knows? But they definitely outsize us in the trenches. But I think you can still force him to make a couple mistakes. And again, for this is what you mentioned at the front. I've just been gauging Texas Tech's reaction to their first 2 games. I don't think any of them listen to this show, But if you do, like, are you guys good? Like, do you need a drink of water? Like, I feel so bad, like, going through their tweets, man. They are in panic mode in Lubbock. But again, I think just the last thing I really have to say about this game, and I'll let you finish it off, but it's really just Taj Brooks, man. I mean, I think if he plays, that's a running back that is just like we talked about week one, where I can't remember the receiver's name, the Pritchett
Pritchett, yeah, Jamal Pritchett.
Where he's just one of those players that you can't stop, and you just got to figure a way to game plan around him. Taj Brooks is one of those guys. Taj Brooks is going to be one of the 10 to 20 best athletes we play all year. Yeah. Just a tough running back. He's like 5'10", 230, I think, when I looked up his size. He's just built like this dude's going to go to the league probably. I've watched his tape. He's insanely talented. If he puts up a season this year like he did last year, he's one of the Big 12's best running backs. And I think if he plays, that is a huge red flag, because I don't know if we can. I know that we can put a little bit of a clamp on their passing game, and I know that we have looked better against the run. Not great, but better. Like you said, 212 yards in 2 games is impressive, and congratulations. Now is a chance to prove it if Taj Brooks plays, but can you do both? I don't know if they'll be able to do both successfully. It's a big test for this defense, and I think it's it's really easy to just point at this game at 11 a.m. on FS1, just being one of those like 66 to 58 type games where you're just like, whoa, like just complete mayhem straight off the bat on Saturday.
Yep.
I don't think it's necessarily going to go that way. I think both defenses have something to prove. Texas Tech, if anything, their defense is where ours was last year. They have been abysmal in these first 2 games. So it's going to take Chandler Morris, settling in, not making those, mistakes over the top like he did against SFA. Maybe you just try to get comfortable with a short passing game. Maybe you try to, mix in a 3 running back rotation early on. Just, try to see what works, but don't get too crazy off the bat. But I think it's just about getting comfortable and getting settled in, and both these defenses have a huge opportunity to prove something this year. So, or this weekend. So, it's just exciting. It's going to be a fun game. That's the thing. I don't think either team's going to blow the other out.
Right.
We always seem to play our power competition. I don't even know what to say anymore. Power 5, Power 4, Power 3, whatever.
Power 4 for now, but it sounds like it might be back to Power 5.
Well, whatever. Yeah, it changes every year.
Pac-12.
The big boys, if you want to call them that, with the exception of Cal last year, which you can chalk that up to first Eric Morse game, whatever. Yeah. We, like the last couple of years, we've played our power competition really well. So, if this is kind of like a Mizzou 2021 or Iowa 2017, where it's just kind of like teams kind of punching each other in the mouth a little bit, like I'm down. Like I like our chances in this game a lot more than I did those two. So
for sure.
That's really all I have to say about Tech. They don't scare me, but it's going to be a fun opponent. This is the one that I think everybody's really excited to gauge how good North Texas really is. And maybe some serious conversations start happening if we are able to pull out a win. But I'll let you finish us off on Tech if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way with Tech. I think, again, like you said, I think they're kind of a mediocre Big 12 team. I don't think they are bad like the Arkansas 2018 team was. But what I will say about Tech is I think they will give us opportunities to stay in and win this game. The opportunities will be there. We have to be able to capitalize. There's going to be, whatever big plays. They're going to have their own self-inflicted wounds. I was listening to their podcast, or no, it was the Dave Campbell one I was listening to earlier. I was also listening to their Locked On podcast, which those guys do a pretty good job. His name is Casey Cowan. Anyways, I guess apparently Joey McGuire, their head coach, has brought in some refs to be at their practices to kind of, I guess, keep their players more in check and make sure that they aren't committing penalties in practice so that they can, get better at not doing that in the game. So it's similar to us. They are a heavy penalized team, a team that's, shot themselves in the foot a lot in that regard. So again, like I said, I think Texas Tech, I feel very confident they are going to give us chances to stay in this game and to win the game, to get ahead. And look, like Carter was saying, I think that fan base is getting restless. I don't think the team and the people close, I don't think maybe they're not stressing quite as much. But yeah, the fan base is getting super antsy. And I think if you can come out and, grab a 10-0 lead, a 14-0 lead, I think, you could get in a situation where they start to unravel a little bit and their fans start to turn on them. And you might hear the Boo Birds come out. If you can do that, that would be huge for your chances. Get them unraveling, get them, feeling worse about themselves than maybe they should, just because, again, that fan base is so tightly wound up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think offensively, we've got a chance at having Jet Duncan back, in which case, if he's back, we've got 4/5 of our starting O-line. Braden Nelson, true freshman, he's filling in at right guard for Landon Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to say something?
No.
But yeah, we've got, we had some injuries to the offensive line this last week, but it's mostly been to our center position. So outside of center, I think we're relatively healthy, except for Peterson at right guard.
Mm-hmm.
But, we've got a chance to have our offensive line mostly intact. I don't expect Peterson to play, but if he's the only starting lineman you're missing, you can live with that. It would suck for him because he transferred from Tech. But
Tyler Mercer day-to-day, too. Last I saw from Vito.
Yeah, he's day-to-day. Peterson's technically day-to-day, and then Duncan's day-to-day. So, Jet Duncan was suited up for the last game. He didn't come in the game. Yeah. So, to me, that's a good indication that he should be at least close.
This feels like a game where if you're good enough to go, you're going. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And likewise, I think Taj Brooks is going to play. There's no source information there. I just think that that's a team that is going to have to scrap and claw for 6 wins and bowl eligibility this year. Mm-hmm. I think, and look, Taj Brooks is a 5th-year senior. I think and like Carter said, he ran for 1,500 yards last year. I think the only reason he is still in Lubbock and not in the NFL right now is because there's NIL money.
Yeah.
If pre-NIL, that dude is saying, I'll pass on the dorm or the dorm cafeteria food. I'm gonna go get this 3rd-round pick money or whatever, 4th-round pick. Like I said, the fact that he is still at Tech tells me that he's probably getting a pretty good NIL payout, and they're doing so for him to play and for him to help get them to a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to play. But again, look, we've done well against the run. He will be, like Carter said, by far, one of the top guys we face all year. Probably the top running back we'll face all year for sure. But again, 3.39 yards per carry allowed so far. If you can just be competitive, and even South Alabama, most of their rushing yards came from Gio Lopez. Baron Morton is not a running threat. I think he's run for 99 yards in his career. Obviously, there's sacks weighing that down, but he's not a rushing quarterback. So you don't have to worry about that aspect. Again, I think that offensively, I think we are going to come out and be tough to handle, because I think D'Majeh Harris, that to me is the quietest, I guess the quietest open secret right now is that, hey, we've got a 224-pound, 6'2" running back who can break off, who was, I think he had over 500 kickoff return yards last year. Like he is a speed guy at that size, which is just crazy. So I think that is going to be at a tremendous, different dimension to our offense that we hadn't had the first 3 halves of this season. And then I think Chandler Morris is going to be back to, the guy that he should be. And then the weapons are starting to, I think they're starting to form in the way that they're complementary of each other. You had, Oscar Hammond had 69 yards receiving last week after a little bit of a slow first week. Like Carter said, Landon Sides came back. Sheffield had 3 touchdowns. Ward had the big first week. Like, I think that you've got guys who are going to, Eric Morris talked about, DT Sheffield kind of disappeared a little bit in the second half, and he was saying he needs a little bit more consistency there. Yes, that would be great, but I think what is better is that you have so many guys who are capable playmakers that you have guys who can pick up the slack. I think if Damon Ward's maybe not having his best half of football, you've got Jeremiah Aaron, you've got Landon Sides, you have other weapons, and I think now that we've got these playmakers are all healthy right now, except for running back, but I think again Harris is going to be a big improvement at that position. He already has been.
Yeah.
I think now your offense is starting to round into form. If you can get a little bit of health from the offensive line, I think we're going to see an offense this week that is going to keep us in this game and give us a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. And then defensively, continue doing what you're doing in the passing game of forcing a bunch of incompletions.
Yeah.
Continue. I think defensively with against the run, I think what I'm seeing more this year is you have our defenders coming in waves, where sometimes last year one guy missed a tackle and that was it.
Yep.
This year you have a guy maybe making a tackle, maybe not, but there's more guys coming. That's the defense has done a great job swarming this year. Yeah. I think the defense is going to be competitive. I think they're going to. I don't see Tech scoring 49 points or anything like that. I think we're going to keep Tech in the low 40s or lower. I think if you can keep them in the 30s, you have a chance to win this game. Yep. The low 30s, I think you win it. So
I agree.
I agree.
It's you want to do scores?
Yeah. You know what? Last week or 2 weeks ago, I gave you a surprise over under. And I said you can give me the next one. Do you want it? Do you have anything for me like that? I know I'm putting you on the spot, even though it's supposed to be you putting me on the spot.
Surprise over under. Let me think. We did turnovers week 1.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get a little silly here. So we had Damon Ward as the highlight player of week 1. We had DT Sheffield as the highlight player week 2. We're gonna go under or over. I don't know how you combine yards and touchdowns. Let's just do yards. Let's do yards. Let's do over under 100 yards for Landon Sides on Saturday.
I mean, I think I want to go spicy here and go over.
Come on.
I think I'm going to go under, but I think that he's going to. I think he's going to serve as an extension of our running game. So I'm going to say that he has something like 8 catches for 80 yards, something where it's not a huge yards per catch, but he's just getting those consistent 7-yard catch and runs, 8-yard catch and runs, where it's again serving as an extension of our run game. So I'm going to go under yards, but I'm going to say he's going to get. I'm going to say he's going to get over 6 catches.
Sure. Okay. I think that's fair. I agree with everything you said. In my head, I can see like a quick slant pass, just him breaking free, man. Yeah. And breaking free. He has the speed to get past Big 12 defenses.
He looked fast, man. I know the thing with the NCAA game that came out, he had something like a 97 speed rating, and it kind of became like a little bit of a joke of like, oh, okay, they went a little bit overboard, giving the white dude 97 speed. Sure. But then when I saw him, and then even some of the players have said, in fall camp that he's the guy who they ran they ran the fast stuff too, the quick hitters, the stuff where you get that guy the ball and let him run.
Yep.
I thought
he's also come back from injury too, so that was a bad pick. I'm sticking with it, but I probably could have gone with a better option, Landon Sides.
I think it's good. I think he, like I said, he looked super explosive when he had the ball.
Sure. It's time for the week 3 surprise offensive explosion player. We could go back to Damon Ward and DT Sheffield, both of whom, fun players. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
But we are on pace to do this every week where we just get one guy. Is DeMaje Harris going to have, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns? Maybe. Maybe it's one of those games where everybody shares 45, 50 yards, but everybody contributes. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. We'll see. But I think the under is probably safe on sides, but I wanted to see if you get a little spicy for the Tech game.
Yeah.
I think I'll get a little spicier. I think that I have the over under here. Hang on. The over under currently, as I checked tonight, was 69. Very nice. Texas Tech is a 9.5 point favorite at the time of recording this on Wednesday night. That may change. It did move pretty fast from, I think they opened as like 11 or 12. They're already down to 9.5. I think that may be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
9.5 was the last one that I saw. I haven't seen the line change since then.
If my brain serves, if I'm not making this up, I think they opened as like 11.5 point favorites. But anyway.
They're back. No, I think they opened as 12.5. It's back up to 11.5.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get a load of this. Here's my score prediction. I think, and this is just my gut instinct, I'm not trying to get delusional here. There is a vibe 2 games into this season that I have not felt in a minute with this program. It is kind of the same energy a little bit that we had in 2018, where you just felt like you had something good going. I think that this group is exuding signs of a healthy team in terms of roster cohesion, in terms of team chemistry, in terms of game planning. To play a game as disciplined as we did in week 1, very encouraging. To play a game as undisciplined and still come out with a 15-point win and still have a lot of positives to take away. And we're not like making up positives. There were a lot of really good things to take away from that SFA win, which you look at on paper, a 35-20 win over your SCF's team doesn't look great, but there were enough things to be like, oh yeah, that's fun going into the Tech game, that it just feels like this team might be on the verge of doing something special. I might be wrong. This might be a 6-win team and we lose a bowl. I don't know. But I'm going to ride with my gut feeling on this. I think we go into Lubbock. I think we can force them to make enough mistakes. And I'm going to take the under on the point spread. I'm going to say we win by a score of 35-25. I'm going to say it's a reasonably low scoring game. I think both teams score fast early. Like I said, I think the defenses are the key components here. Obviously, in a game like Tech and North Texas with these offenses, it could just be crazy mayhem. But I don't see a Baylor West Virginia 2012 type game where it's like 70-66. I don't think that's going to happen. It's not one of those games. There's enough defensive talent on the field that I think some mistakes will be made, and I think our guys recognize that this is a big chance. But this is the last thing I'm going to point out on this game. This is the most people that are going to watch a North Texas football game probably since the Arkansas game, I'd assume. I obviously don't remember what every single game since then was broadcast on, but this is an 11 a.m. kickoff on FS1. It's one of the more intriguing games in the morning. The best college football game this weekend is Friday night, which is the Arizona, or is it Arizona State or Arizona on Friday? I don't remember. Hang on. I got it right here. I got my sheets. I got my notes. It's it's Arizona, Kansas State. Okay. That's like the in terms of like ranked whatever, like that's the big game this weekend.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of people tuning in to start their college football Saturday, and they see 2 Texas gunslinging offenses. They're like, oh, that's going to be a lot of people piquing their interest and tuning into the North Texas Mean Green. We got the script helmets coming out in 2 weeks. There's hype, man, and I think we're going to ride the hype. This is a big chance to show that you mean business, and it's a big game for a year 2 head coach who, in his first FBS head coaching gig, probably really wants to get a signature win, because you have 3 opportunities now for signature wins because FAU sucks. I thought FAU was going to be like my surprise team in the AAC this year. They suck. That's not happening.
So does UTSA, by the way.
And so does UTSA. Dude, hang on. Just pause.
Yeah. I had to throw that one in there.
So fun to watch them get their teeth kicked in by Texas State. Texas State, congratulations. You have my respect.
Yeah.
there are 3 games on the schedule this year that you can get as signature wins, and it's this game, Tulane, and Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the worst of those 3 teams, and I think we
Yeah,
can.
I agree.
So I'm probably gonna be wrong on the score, but I'm gonna just go against the grain here. I'm gonna say it's like a 35, 25, 26, 27 type win. But I think we're coming home with the dub, and I think we're gonna beat Wyoming too. I'm not jumping ahead, but I think 4-0 is definitely on the table to start out, and I think we're leaving Lubbock with the W.
Oh man, need it. So let me walk you, the listener. If you're still listening 55 minutes in, you deserve a look into the enigma that is my mind. There's not a ton going on there, but I'll tell you what is going on there. I'm having a mental wrestling match between saying, yes, they are going to lose because they don't win these type of games, and yes, they're going to win because, like, bro, just like ride the wave, ride the momentum, ride the excitement, buy into the hype. Where I am having the hardest time picking us to lose is that I think the most likely way that we lose is we take a step back.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, again, defensively, 52% completion percentage is what we're allowing. If we take a big step back and allow 60, 65%, then, we might lose. Rushing, like I said, giving up 3.39 yards per carry. If we take a big step back and go back to, last year, we were giving up 5.6 yards a carry. If we revert, my head says we're probably going to lose, and we're probably going to revert back to the bad, defense that we were last year, or the, the offense that struggled, with penalties or whatever. I think my head is saying we're going to lose this game because we are going to do things that we're going to do bad things that we haven't even necessarily been doing lately.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I'm going to pick us to win, because I think that I don't think we're going to go backwards. And this could be some really
would
bad,
you agree
famous
with
last
me
words.
Would you agree with me that this is our game to lose?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that's accurate, because again, I think that they want this game. I don't think that we're going to sneak up on them. I think, but I will say, just listening to their fans, they sound very low on their team, but they also sound cocky, like, we are better than UNT though.
Yeah, well, and dude, but that's what I'm saying, man. This is a 11 a.m. nationally broadcast game. This game's gonna be a lot of people's homes. You can put some respect on the North Texas Mean Green if you get a win this weekend, or even just play competitive. If you can keep it close and just look like a fundamentally sound football team, dude. We've had so many games the last couple, like the UNLV game a couple years ago, Cal last year. We're like, just things fall apart so fast.
That's what I'm saying. My head says that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it from this team through
Nope.
2 games.
Nope.
We haven't seen we haven't seen those levels of just ineptitude.
Dude, even if we lose close, man, that's just avoid that. Avoid the third quarter meltdown going down, 21, 24 into the fourth. And then the final score is a blowout score. And you're like, well, it wasn't really a blowout until this happened. And, just stupid mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, we've had so many of those disappointing games, but like, if we can at least keep this competitive and just walk away like, yeah, we played good and we just weren't the better team. Like, we just got a rebound, try to beat Wyoming. I'm happy. I can take that as a positive going into conference play and still think, okay, yeah, we're probably going to win 7-8 games, because I think this game is, I've used this phrase a lot in the first couple weeks, but it's a litmus test. This is a litmus test. I don't think there's any more like prove it games after this. Like Wyoming forward, that's who we are. Like, you're into the season now, you got your groove going. Your first 3 games are really your like window to like get things fixed. You fix the errors from the SFA game. You have less than 15 penalties on Saturday, please.
Right.
Not 3 picks. You can make a couple mistakes against Texas Tech and still be in the game, but you can't make the mistakes we did against SFA. So
for sure.
I definitely hear you. Those scary like nightmare games from recent years. There's so much PTSD, and I have some too. It's the script helmets. We got the script helmets today. The energy's there. I wasn't a UNT fan during those days. I was alive, but I wasn't a UNT fan yet. but we've got the momentum of the script helmets. So I have to write it. But what did you give a score? I don't think you gave a score, did you?
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't say score. Okay, my score prediction is UNT 38, Texas Tech 34. I think we are going to end the game on a Baron Morton pass falling incomplete in the end zone area.
Dude, I've got high blood pressure, man. I need this game to go to like according to a certain set of rules. I can't have anything crazy like that in the fourth. Just get a win.
I'm
Just
going with that. Like I said, go ahead.
I was just gonna say if it's a 4-point swing either way, you better win. I can't handle a 4-point loss. So
yeah, I mean, I agree. If if we look at the schedule, at least we've got Wyoming, Tulsa, and
FAU next, right?
Wyoming, Wyoming, Tulsa, FAU. So like those are 3 winnable games. So if something doesn't go great, you're gonna have the chances to pick up wins. But if something does go great, the way we talk about this team the rest of the year changes tremendously.
When is the last time we started 5-1? I'm not jumping ahead. I'm just asking.
What didn't I think the 2018 team? I think they started 5-1. I thought they won the next game after La Tech. I want to say they beat UTEP.
Yes, yeah, they did beat UTEP. Okay, man.
So
okay,
yeah, that was 5-1.
Let's use the 2018 team as a stepping stool, not as a sign of what we should be, because I don't want to blow multi-touchdown leads in every big game that matters.
Yeah.
I'm talking about PTSD. That team gives me PTSD. That was my second year being a fan, so that was like fresh heartbreak for me. I was just like, that LA Tech game was like the biggest game I had experienced as a fan yet. So
yeah,
we don't have to worry about that. That's way in the past. This is a new era.
New era.
Well, anything else you want to touch on? I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to for Tech. I got my score in. I am content and ready. It's going to be a fun weekend. Not even just this game. There's a bunch of rivalry games this week. It's a bunch of geographical games. I know us and Tech are not rivals, but it's still fun to have like a West Texas versus North Texas showdown. Then you got like Oregon State, Washington State, the Apple Cup. Like there's tons of good games this weekend. So it'll be a fun football weekend, and I'm really hoping that we come away at least competitive, but hopefully with a win. Because if things go south, my day will be ruined by 2:00, and you never want that with an 11 a.m. kickoff. So I don't know. I have nothing else to comment on. If you're wrapping up. Yeah.
No, I think that's it. We've been looking forward to this one since it showed up on the schedule. I think it's a fun regional opponent, like you said. It's a beatable opponent. It's not Alabama or LSU. So that's nice, or Texas. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. 11 o'clock, FS1. Tune in, hit up your local watch party, make the drive, whatever you're gonna do. Yeah, hopefully it's a fun one. But yeah, for that, let's go get a dub and go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.